Your thoughts are powerful. They are not just passing ideas, they are the architects of your life. Every day you wake up and your mind starts running. Some thoughts inspire you, others discourage you. Some lift you up, and some pull you down. But here's the truth. You have the power to choose. You have the power to direct your thoughts towards something greater, something better. You are not at the mercy of your circumstances. You are in command of your focus. If you want to change your life, start by changing your thoughts. Better thoughts lead to better feelings. Better feelings lead to better actions. And better actions to create better results. It all starts with what you allow to live in your mind. So ask yourself, what am I feeding my mind today? Am I filling it with doubt, worry, comparison, fear? Or am I feeding it hope, strength, courage, and faith? Because when you think better thoughts, you see better opportunities. You attract better energy. You speak with more intention. You carry yourself with purpose. And most importantly, you begin to believe in who you're becoming. Your thoughts are the foundation of everything you experience in life. They are not invisible forces with no consequence. They are the very blueprint of your reality. Every feeling you've ever had, every decision you've ever made, every habit you've ever developed, all of them were born in your mind. Your thoughts are the seeds that eventually grow into the actions you take and the results you live with. Most people don't realize how much power they hold simply through what they think, what they focus on, and what they allow themselves to believe. It's easy to dismiss your thoughts as fleeting or temporary, but every single thought, no matter how small, has a direction. It leads somewhere. One thought of doubt can lead to hesitation. One thought of fear can lead to avoidance. One thought of defeat can keep you stuck for months or even years. On the other hand, one thought of courage can lead to bold action. One thought of hope can spark a new beginning. One thought of belief can change the entire course of your life. That's how powerful your thoughts are. The life you're living right now is a reflection of the thoughts you've allowed to take root in your mind over time. Your career, your health, your relationships, your goals, they are all influenced, directed, and shaped by the thoughts you think most often. If you've built a habit of thinking negatively, seeing the worst in situations, expecting failure, or doubting your worth, then life begins to match those expectations. You start to see problems where others see potential. You hesitate when others take bold steps. You shrink when you're meant to grow. But when you build a habit of thinking positively, constructively, and intentionally, everything changes. You begin to notice opportunities. You start to trust your instincts. You feel more peace and clarity in your decision-making. You gain confidence not because life suddenly became easier, but because you've taken back control of your mental world. And once you do that, your external world begins to align. It's important to understand that thoughts are not just abstract ideas floating around in your mind. They influence your body, your emotions, your energy. When you think stressful thoughts, your body feels tense. When you think loving or grateful thoughts, your body relaxes. Your thoughts have a physiological effect on your well-being. They influence your energy levels, your immune system, your motivation. So it's not just about thinking better thoughts for the sake of feeling good. It's about building a life, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, that is rooted in strength rather than fear, in hope rather than despair. Most people believe that the events of their life are what determine their happiness or success, but that's only part of the equation. Two people can go through the exact same hardship, the loss of a job, a broken relationship, a financial setback, and respond in completely different ways. One person will spiral into negative thinking, blaming themselves or others, focusing only on what went wrong. The other person will use the same situation to reflect, refocus, and rebuild. What made the difference? Not the situation. It was their thoughts, the story they told themselves, the meaning they gave it. That's the power of thought. The key is not to pretend that bad things don't happen. Life is not about ignoring reality. It's about managing your internal world so that when challenges arise, and they will, you don't fall apart. Instead, you remain grounded. You remain focused. You remain in control of how you interpret and respond to what's happening. You remember that your thoughts can either become your prison or your path to freedom. You probably heard the saying, change your thoughts, change your life. It's become a cliche because it's true. But change doesn't happen overnight. It takes intention, it takes effort, it takes awareness. You have to become the observer of your own mind. Start noticing the patterns. Are you constantly doubting yourself? Are you telling yourself stories that keep you small? Are you focusing on what's missing instead of what's possible? Once you notice your patterns, you can begin to challenge them. You can ask better questions. You can replace toxic thoughts with empowering ones. You can create affirmations that rewire your subconscious beliefs. You can feed your mind daily with inspiration, truth, and vision, because just like your body responds to what you feed it, your mind does too. This is not about fake positivity. This is about mental discipline. This is about training your mind to serve you, not sabotage you. This is about reminding yourself every single day that you are the gatekeeper of your thoughts. No one else is responsible for what you allow to stay in your head. That power is yours, and it's one of the greatest powers you have. Think about the people who have done incredible things in the world, the visionaries, the leaders, the overcomers. Their thoughts were not average. They did not let their thoughts wander aimlessly. They directed their thoughts with clarity, purpose, and belief. And that's what gave them the strength to act even when it was hard. That's what allowed them to endure setbacks and keep moving forward. They trained their thoughts to serve the life they wanted, not the life they feared. So if you want to change your life, start where it really begins, in your thoughts. Start choosing better ones. Start choosing thoughts that speak life, not fear. Start choosing thoughts that expand your vision, not shrink it. You'll be amazed how much changes, not just in your mood or motivation, but in your actual reality. Because your thoughts are not just reflections of who you are, they are the architects of who you become. Think better thoughts, and you'll build a better life. Every day, every moment, it begins in your mind. At any given moment, you are thinking something. Sometimes those thoughts serve you, and sometimes they sabotage you. But what many people don't realize is that those thoughts are not happening to you. They are happening through you. And the most empowering truth you can accept is this: you have the power to choose your thoughts. That power lives inside of you, always available, always accessible, but only if you're willing to use it. Far too many people move through life believing they are stuck with the mind they woke up with. If they feel anxious, they assume that's just how the day is going to be. If doubt creeps in, they accept it as fact. If a negative memory resurfaces, they let it define their mood and decisions. But thoughts are not permanent. They are not facts. They are not commands. They are options. And you get to choose which ones stay and which ones go. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. You are the observer, the thinker behind the thought. That means you can take a step back and say, is this thought helping me or hurting me? Is this something I want to believe, or is it just a reaction? Is this thought mine, or did I pick it up from someone else, from my past, from society, from fear? Once you recognize that you are not powerless in the face of your thoughts, everything begins to change. You begin to reclaim your authority. You stop letting every emotion pull you in 10 directions. You stop letting a random negative spiral ruin your entire day. And you start living intentionally. You start making mental choices that align with the life you actually want to live. Choosing your thoughts doesn't mean pretending everything is perfect. It doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means recognizing that even when things are hard, even when life feels messy or uncertain, you still have a choice in how you respond internally. You can choose patience instead of panic. You can choose faith instead of fear. You can choose perspective instead of pressure. There is incredible freedom in knowing that no one else can control your thoughts unless you let them. People can influence your environment, your circumstances, your schedule, but they cannot get inside your head unless you open the door. That's your sacred space. You are the gatekeeper. You decide what gets to stay and what must be removed. But here's the catch. You have to be aware. Most of the time, we're running on autopilot. We think what we've always thought. We respond the way we always have. We repeat the same internal conversations that have lived in our heads for years, and that's where your power begins to leak, when you live without awareness. So if you want to choose better thoughts, you have to first become aware of the ones you're already choosing. Start paying attention. Notice the patterns. Are your thoughts full of worry, doubt, comparison, regret? Or are they grounded in confidence, gratitude, and possibility? Awareness is the first step to change, and it's a powerful one. Because once you see the pattern, you can interrupt it. You can pause, you can shift, you can say, this thought is not welcome here anymore. One powerful way to take back control is through questions. Your brain is wired to answer questions, so ask it the right ones. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? Instead of, what if I fail? Try, what if this works? Instead of, what's wrong with me? Try, what's one thing I'm proud of today? The questions you ask direct your thoughts, and your thoughts direct your life. Another powerful tool is self-talk. Every time you think something disempowering, speak something empowering. Don't let a negative thought go unchallenged. If your mind says, "You're not good enough," respond with, "I am learning, I am growing, and I am exactly where I need to be." If it says, "You'll never get through this," respond with, "I faced hard things before, and I have the strength to keep going." You don't have to believe every thought you think, but you can choose to believe the ones that lift you higher. This mental discipline doesn't develop overnight. It's a daily practice. Some days you'll catch yourself early and flip the script. Other days the negative thoughts will be louder and harder to shake. That's okay. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress. The more you practice choosing your thoughts, the stronger that mental muscle becomes. Eventually it becomes your new default. The reality is, you will always have thoughts that try to bring you down. Thoughts that come from fear, from pain, from past wounds. But you are not obligated to live by them. You can acknowledge them without accepting them. You can feel them without feeding them. And you can gently but firmly choose something better. Choosing better thoughts is one of the greatest acts of self-leadership you can practice. It's how you become the person you were meant to be. Not a victim of your circumstances, but a creator of your reality. It's how you reclaim your power, your clarity, and your peace. When you realize that you get to decide what loves in your mind, you begin to take back every part of your life. So when life gets loud, when your mind feels messy, when the world throws chaos your way, remember this: you still have a choice. Always, you can think something better. You can shift your focus. You can rise above. That power is yours, and it's waiting for you to use it. Everything starts in the mind. So choose wisely. Choose boldly. Choose better thoughts, and you'll start to see a better life unfold in front of you. One decision, one moment, one thought at a time. Every great achievement in life begins with a single spark, a thought. But not just any thought. A thought that empowers, that energizes, that propels you into action. Positive thinking isn't just feel-good fluff. It's the fuel that moves your feet forward. It is the inner dialogue that shapes your choices, and your choices shape your life. When you think positively, you act differently. You carry yourself with more confidence. You show up with more energy. You speak with more clarity. You become someone who expects good things, who sees potential even in setbacks, who keeps going even when the odds say stop. That is the real power of positive thinking. It's not just about how you feel, it's about what you do. You see, negative thinking drains you. It slows you down. It keeps you stuck in your head, paralyzed by fear, hesitation, and self-doubt. Have you ever had a day where you woke up already feeling defeated? Nothing even happened yet, but your thoughts were already working against you. What if I fail? What if they judge me? What if I'm not ready? And so you hesitate. You play small. You avoid the challenge. That's not because you weren't capable. It's because your thoughts turned off your momentum before you even got started. But now imagine a different day. You wake up and say to yourself, "I've got this. I can handle what's coming. I'm making progress." That mindset doesn't just make you feel better, it causes you to move. You respond to challenges with resilience. You speak up when it's uncomfortable. You make the call, take the step, start the thing. And even if you don't feel 100% ready, your positive thinking creates positive action, and that action builds confidence. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, and you build it by moving forward again and again. Every time you take a step, your brain records it. I can do hard things, I can survive uncertainty, I can trust myself, but you'll only take those steps if your thoughts give you the green light. Positive thinking doesn't eliminate fear, it just makes sure fear doesn't get the final say. People often think they need motivation to take action, but the truth is, action often creates motivation. And what sparks that action? A single thought. A thought that says, let's try, let's go, let's start now. Positive thinking doesn't mean every moment will be easy or every outcome will be perfect. It simply means you're choosing to face life with courage, with belief, and with a mindset that keeps you moving forward. When you believe there's a solution, you start looking for one. When you believe you can grow, you stop fearing failure. When you believe that effort matters, you start giving your best. That's the power of thought in motion. It changes how you act, and over time, it changes who you become. Think about the people you admire, not just for their success, but for their consistency, their strength, their joy. Those people aren't lucky. They've trained their minds to think in a way that supports their actions. They don't dwell in limitation. They don't feed fear. They've learned to lead their thoughts instead of being led by them. And because of that, they keep showing up day after day, even when it's hard, even when no one is watching. The truth is, every action you take is built on a mental story. And if you're telling yourself a story that says, I can't, or it's too late, or I'm not ready, then your actions will reflect that. You'll hold back. You'll procrastinate. You'll second guess yourself. But if you shift the story to something better, I'm growing, I'm learning, I'm moving forward no matter what, then your behavior begins to align with that belief. That is the engine of momentum. A positive mindset driving consistent, intentional action. Even science backs this up. Studies in neuroscience and psychology show that positive thinking affects brain function, decision-making, and problem-solving. When your mind is flooded with stress, you're in survival mode. Your creativity shuts down. Your ability to act with clarity is limited. But when you practice positive thinking, your brain opens up. You become more resourceful. You see options. You make better choices, and better choices compound over time into a better life. That's why your mindset is not something to ignore. It's not optional. It's the foundation. And the beautiful part is it's completely within your control. You may not be able to control everything that happens to you, but you can always control the thoughts you choose to think and the attitude you bring to every challenge. That's your power. That's your edge. So the next time you're stuck, the next time you're overwhelmed, the next time you feel like quitting, pause and go inward. Check your thoughts. Are they lifting you or limiting you? Are they pointing you forward or pulling you backward? If they're negative, you don't have to accept them. You can choose better ones, you can speak better ones, you can act from a place of strength instead of fear. And remember, it's not about being positive all the time. It's about leading yourself through difficulty with a mindset that says, I won't quit, I will grow, I will figure this out. That's how progress is made, not in giant leaps, but in small steps, powered by consistent, constructive thinking. Positive thinking doesn't make everything easy, but it does make everything possible. Because when your mind is right, your energy is right, your focus is right, your habits begin to shift. Your goals start to feel attainable. And suddenly, you're not just dreaming anymore, you're becoming. So think better, think with purpose, think in a way that supports the life you want to live, and then take action that honors those thoughts. Because once you think positively, you act powerfully. And when you act powerfully, you start building the life you once only imagined. You cannot create a new life with old thinking. You cannot step into your future while clinging to the thoughts that kept you stuck in your past. If you want to rise, if you want to evolve, if you want to truly grow, then your old mental habits must be replaced. Not ignored, not suppressed, replaced. We all have patterns, mental loops we've repeated for years. Some were given to us by our parents, our teachers, our culture. Others were formed through pain, failure, disappointment, or fear. Over time, they became automatic, quiet voices in the background of our lives, whispering things like, you're not enough, this won't work, don't try too hard, or you always mess things up. They sound like facts, but they're not. They're just habits, thought habits. And like any habit, they can be broken and rebuilt. Most people aren't living their potential, not because they're incapable, but because they're mentally programmed to doubt, hesitate, fear, and settle. And those patterns run so deep, they don't even realize they're operating on autopilot. It's like trying to run a new version of your life on outdated software. Eventually, it crashes. Not because the future isn't possible, but because the past hasn't been unlearned. To break free, you have to get honest with yourself. What thoughts keep showing up, uninvited in your mind? What beliefs have you accepted as truth, just because they're familiar? What stories are you still telling yourself that no longer serve you? Because here's the thing, not every thought deserves to stay. Just because you thought something 1,000 times doesn't make it real. Repetition does not equal truth. It just creates comfort, and comfort is the enemy of growth. Replacing old mental habits means disrupting the cycle. It means refusing to think the same low-energy, self-defeating, fearful thoughts day after day. It means catching yourself in the act when you're about to shrink back, sabotage yourself, or give up, and choosing something new. That new thought might feel uncomfortable at first. It might feel unnatural, even fake. But that's okay. That's part of the process. It's the same way your old habits were built through repetition. Your new ones will be too. You don't have to believe a new thought 100% on day one. You just have to practice it. Say it. Choose it. again and again. And eventually it becomes yours. For example, maybe your old thought is, I always fail. That belief keeps you frozen. It keeps you from trying, from risking, from growing. But what if you replaced it with failure is part of growth and I learn from every experience? That new thought doesn't erase the fear, but it gives you power over it. It reframes your mindset. It shifts your focus from fear to progress, and that shift changes how you act. Or maybe your old pattern is perfectionism. If it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. That belief has stopped you from starting, from creating, from finishing. Replace it with done is better than perfect. Progress matters more than perfection. And suddenly you allow yourself to move, to begin, to build momentum. That's how new habits begin, with new language. But change doesn't happen passively. You can't wait for a magical day when your old thoughts just disappear. You have to decide to stop feeding them. Every time you entertain a limiting belief, you give it power. You reinforce it, you let it grow. But every time you replace it, even once, you weaken it. You break the cycle. And the more often you replace those thoughts, the more natural the new ones become. This is why self-awareness is so important. You can't change what you won't confront. If you never slow down and ask yourself why you think the way you do, you'll keep living by beliefs that were never truly yours to begin with. Beliefs picked up from other people's fears, from painful memories, from moments of rejection or failure. But you are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not the scared version of yourself that accepted those thoughts years ago. You've grown, and your thoughts must grow with you. This mental work, the work of replacing your thoughts, is not a one-time event. It's a daily commitment. Like brushing your teeth or exercising your body, you must train your mind with consistency. Feed it with truth. Guard it from negativity. Challenge it when it lies. Because if you don't, those old thoughts will quietly creep back in, dressed as realism or common sense, when really they are just fear in disguise. You have to be stronger than your excuses, louder than your doubt, more persistent than your inner critic. You have to interrupt your patterns and rewire your mind on purpose. That's how growth happens, not by chance, but by choice. And the reward for doing this work: freedom, confidence, peace, purpose. You begin to act from a place of strength instead of survival. You stop reacting and start creating. You no longer need perfect conditions to move forward because your mindset is now your foundation. When you replace your old thoughts with new ones, you open the door to a version of yourself you've never met before. One who doesn't carry the weight of past mistakes. One who isn't afraid to speak up, to try again, to rise after falling. One who believes, truly believes, that they are worthy of the life they're building. So start replacing thought by thought, line by line. Create a new mental script. Build new inner habits. Speak new words over your life. Because the only thing standing between who you are now and who you're becoming is the story you choose to believe and the thoughts you decide to keep. Choose wisely, choose powerfully, choose new thoughts that reflect your future, not your past. If you want to change your life, you must first change your mind. Real lasting transformation doesn't start with a new job, a new relationship, or a fresh opportunity. It starts with the thoughts you allow to live in your head. It starts with your inner world, your mindset, your beliefs, your mental habits. Everything on the outside is a reflection of what's happening on the inside. That's why mastering your mind isn't just helpful, it's essential. It is the very foundation of all personal change. You can set goals, you can write vision boards, you can follow all the success strategies in the world, but if your mind is filled with doubt, fear, self-sabotage, and limiting beliefs, nothing will stick. You'll find yourself starting and stopping, getting excited, then pulling back, taking a step forward, then talking yourself out of it, not because you're not capable, but because your mind hasn't yet caught up with your vision. The truth is, your mind controls your behavior far more than your circumstances do. You might blame your environment, your past, or your lack of resources, but in most cases, it's not the situation that's holding you back. It's your thinking. It's the story you keep repeating about what's possible, what's realistic, what you deserve. Until that story changes, your results won't. That's why people can win the lottery and still lose it all. Or lose 30 pounds and gain it back. Or finally get the job they wanted but still feel unhappy. Because if the mind isn't transformed, nothing external will feel like enough. External change without internal growth is temporary. But when you master your mind, you master the one thing that can create lasting, powerful, inside-out change. Mastering your mind doesn't mean controlling every thought that appears. That's impossible. Thoughts will always come, many of them uninvited. But you don't have to believe every thought. You don't have to entertain every fear. You don't have to follow every distraction. Mastery means discernment. It means noticing your thoughts and deciding, is this thought serving me? Is this thought aligned with the person I want to become? You become the driver instead of the passenger. You lead your mind instead of letting it lead you into chaos. You learn to filter what you accept and what you reject. And through that filtering process, you start building mental strength. Think of your mind like a garden. If you don't intentionally plant what you want, weeds will grow by default. The weeds are the negative thoughts, the fears, the doubts, the assumptions, and they grow fast if left unchecked. Mastery is the act of planting better seeds every single day. Seeds of gratitude, seeds of vision, seeds of discipline, belief, and self-worth. And then watering those seeds through repetition, action, and reflection. This takes work, mental work. But most people don't do it because it's invisible. You can't show off your mindset at the gym. You can't post your mental discipline on social media. It doesn't give you instant praise, but over time it gives you something even better, real transformation. A life that is grounded, focused, and driven by clarity rather than chaos. Think about how many times your mood has been controlled by a single thought. Maybe it was a fear about the future, a memory from the past, or something someone said that got stuck in your mind. Without mastery, that one thought takes over your entire day. It affects how you speak, how you show up, how you treat others, and even the choices you make. But with mastery, you notice it. You say, I see this thought, but I don't accept it. You redirect your focus. You reclaim your power, and that power builds momentum. Because mental mastery is not just about feeling better. It's about doing better. It's about making better choices under pressure. It's about staying grounded when things don't go as planned. It's about being able to coach yourself through difficult moments rather than collapsing under them. When you master your mind, you become your own guide, not dependent on motivation, not swayed by emotion, but anchored in discipline. Discipline is a key part of mental mastery. Not just the discipline to act, but the discipline to think before reacting, to think before assuming, to think with intention, to think beyond your feelings. Feelings are important, but they're temporary. Your mindset must be built to outlast your mood. And this is where true freedom lies, in knowing that even when life is chaotic, your mind doesn't have to be, even when everything around you feels out of control, you can still control what's within. You can choose your thoughts. You can choose your focus. You can choose your response. That is power. That is freedom. That is the beginning of a new life. Some people spend their entire lives trying to fix everything outside of them. They change jobs, move cities, start over again and again, all without changing their inner world. But if your mind stays the same, your life eventually circles back to the same place. That's why people say, everywhere I go, I take me with me. Until you do the inner work, until you master your thoughts, your beliefs, your patterns, nothing on the outside can give you peace. Mastering your mind isn't about perfection. You'll still have bad days. You'll still feel doubt. You'll still fall short. But the difference is you won't stay there. You'll catch yourself faster. You'll shift quicker. You'll rise stronger. And over time, those small shifts become massive change. If you truly want to transform, not just temporarily improve, but radically, permanently evolve, begin with your mind. Watch your thoughts. Challenge your beliefs. Choose your focus. Lead your inner world like your future depends on it. Because it does. You won't always control what life throws at you, but you can always control the mindset you meet it with. And when your mind is strong, nothing outside you can break you. You master your mind, and you master your life. A better life doesn't just appear overnight. It's not a sudden miracle or a once-in-a-lifetime event. It is built slowly, consistently, patiently, one thought at a time. And at the center of it all is your mind. The future you want, the peace you crave, the purpose you long for, it all starts with what you think, day in and day out. That's the secret. Consistent, positive thinking. Not just when life feels good, not just when things are easy, but especially when it's hard, especially when it's quiet, especially when no one else is clapping for you. That's when it counts the most. The most successful, fulfilled, and resilient people in the world aren't those who never face adversity. They're the ones who have trained themselves to think in ways that push them forward no matter what. They don't let their thoughts drift into chaos. They don't allow negative thinking to settle in like an unwanted guest. They practice mental discipline every day because they know this thoughts repeated become beliefs, and beliefs create your reality. One good thought might lift your mood for a moment, but consistent positive thinking changes how you see yourself, how you respond to life, and how you plan your future. It rewires your internal programming. It builds mental pathways that become your new default. That's how powerful your mind is, and that's why it must be shaped intentionally. Every single day, your thoughts are writing the script for your future. What you tell yourself, what you choose to believe, what you focus on, it all adds up. When you constantly think thoughts like, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, or nothing ever works out for me, your mind begins to treat those statements as fact. You start to act in ways that match those beliefs. You pull back, you second guess yourself. You settle, not because you're weak, but because you're living from the limits of your own thoughts. But the opposite is also true. When you consistently think empowering thoughts, I can figure this out, I am learning and growing, every day I get better, your mind builds a different map. It starts to look for solutions instead of problems. It expects progress. It becomes resilient in the face of failure. That consistency rewires your brain, reshapes your attitude, and redefines your limits. This doesn't mean you'll never think a negative thought again. You will, it's human. But with practice, those thoughts won't stick around as long. They won't control your direction. You'll catch them, challenge them, and replace them. And over time, positive thinking won't just be something you do, it'll be who you are. Think of your mind like a muscle. You can't lift weights once and expect to be strong. You build strength through repetition. The same is true for your thinking. One affirmation, one good day, one burst of inspiration isn't enough. What matters is what you think consistently, in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when life feels ordinary or overwhelming. That's when you're either reinforcing the old story or building a new one. And let's be clear, consistent positive thinking is not about ignoring reality. It's not pretending that pain doesn't exist or that everything is perfect. It's about choosing your focus, choosing to look for what's possible instead of what's broken, choosing to believe in your potential even when the evidence isn't clear yet, choosing to speak to yourself with kindness, even when you fail. That kind of thinking builds inner strength. It creates emotional endurance. It gives you an advantage in every area of life, relationships, career, health, growth. Because when your mind is right, your life starts to reflect that alignment. Your conversations change, your habits shift, your decisions become more intentional, and that over time creates an entirely new future. So ask yourself, what kind of future am I building with the thoughts I think every day? Are you building a future rooted in fear or in faith?
Repeat it until they become who you are. And don't be discouraged if it feels slow.
Not
Real
once, but over
growth
and over
always
again.
is.
That's the
You
power
may
of
not
consistency.
see the results
Small
right
choices.
away, but the change is
moments.
happening
Invisible
underneath
shifts.
the surface.
Repeated
in your
until they
mindset,
become who you are.
in your energy,
Don't be discouraged
in the
if it
way you
feels
carry
slow.
yourself. Keep
Real
going.
growth
Keep
always
thinking
is.
better.
You
Keep
may not see the
speaking
results right
life
away,
over
but
your
the change is
goals,
happening underneath
your
the
day,
surface in your mindset
dreams,
and your energy
your
and the way you
future
carry yourself.
is not
Keep
something
going.
you stumble
Keep thinking
into.
better. Keep speaking life over
Quietly,
your goals, your day, your
consistently,
dreams. Your future is not something you
internally,
stumble into.
first.
It's something
you create. And it begins,
And it
right,
begins
now,
right now
with the next
with the
thought
next
you
thought
choose to
you
believe.
choose to believe.
Not tomorrow,
Not tomorrow,
not next
not
year,
next year,
but
but
this
this
very
very moment.
moment.
You
You
don't
don't have to wait to
better.
think better.
You
You
don't
don't
need
need permission. You
You
don't need proof. All you need is a decision.
Decide to think thoughts that stretch you, not shrink you. Thoughts that build you, not break you.
Thoughts that build
Thoughts
you,
that remind you of your
not
strength,
break
your
you.
resilience, your
Thoughts
worth,
that remind you
and
of
then
your
do it again
strength,
tomorrow.
your resilience,
And the
your
day
worth,
after that,
and do it again tomorrow,
until those
and the
thoughts
day
become
after
beliefs,
that,
until those beliefs guide your actions.
those thoughts
Until your
become
actions
beliefs,
create a life that reflects
until
the best
those
of who you
beliefs
are.
guide
That's
your
how a better
act,
future is
until
built.
your actions
Quietly,
create a life that
consistently,
reflects the best of who you
internally,
are. That's
first.
how a better
Plus, if
future
you're
is
serious
built.
about
So if
changing
you're
your life,
serious
begin
about
here,
changing
in
your
the
life,
privacy of your own
begin
mind.
here.
Speak
In
life
the
over
privacy
your
of your
journey.
own mind.
Refuse to entertain
Speak
defeat.
life over your journey.
And remember, the most
Refuse
powerful
to entertain
change
defeat.
happens not
Think,
in big
think
moments,
strong,
but in
think
small
forward.
thoughts, chosen
And remember,
consistently.
the
Practice
most
daily and
powerful
believe
change
deeply.
happens
Your
not
thoughts are
in
creating
big
your
moments,
future.
but
Think
in
well.
small
Think
thoughts
strong. Think
chosen
forward.
consistently, practiced daily, and believed deeply, your thoughts are creating your future.